And I think this leads us to our practical application where we can talk about, are big levers the only thing that matters in the end? Obviously, you have to do a lot of small things in order to be able to get enough leverage to get the big lever to budge.
Mhm.
But in the end, are the big levers what organizations should be focused on? And is it a risk or a defect in the organization when there is not enough focus on the big levers, not enough clarity on what the big levers are? How
Mhm.
do you feel about that?
I like the big levers idea because I think that you can't get the extra effort without knowing what the big levers are, without, without aligning to the big picture, but also people having the sense that what they're doing is actually really transforming their experience. But I think also the classic lesson of like, don't work on the little stuff, right? The thing that's going to unlock a different future are the things that are really standing in your way, getting them out of the way, moving the big rocks, as they say, or whatever, right? So that's what we see really skillfully here is like, what are the main things that that need to have happen that don't have, that are not in the world today, that Sauron is able to influence people to do. He's very good at that. I think we have some examples of both organizations that were very short-term focused over their long-term gain, right? That sort of fell victim to that deception, and examples of organizations that did a very good job of aligning those factors and about kind of pushing the big levers to get really outsized changes in the world. So do you want to talk about some examples here?
Yeah, let's just talk about the SpaceX example. And it's an easy one to pull from because they do innovative things and they are able to do them in a way that it seems like no other company would be able to pull off. But the whole chopsticks catching the reusable rocket was truly one of the most incredible things I've ever seen from a technological perspective. It just seems like it should not be possible. And the fact that they're able to do that so quickly, you have to question, okay, what can I learn from this, right? And as we apply it to our conversation about big levers, the thing here is, what is their KPI? What are they trying to, what is their target?
Yes.
What are they
Yes.
trying to do? Well, really, they're trying to do a very simple thing. They're trying to reduce the cycle time, meaning they can launch more rockets faster, which will allow them to gain dominance, which will allow them to make quicker gains, right? The more you can iterate, the faster you can learn, the more advancement you can make, the more money you can make, etc. And in doing that, shorter cycles also lower your expense, they lower your costs. So
Right.
it ends up being this incredible goal. But Brian, that's not really the big lever that everybody gets excited about. People are not lining up to work at SpaceX because they're thinking, oh, we can shorten the cycle time to be able to launch these rockets. We can increase the efficiency of getting objects into lower Earth orbit.
Yeah, exactly. So this is great. Like the technological achievement of I can catch a rocket which lands on its tail with all of the control skill that requires is sort of that's the crafting the rings, right? Nobody woke up in the morning and say I want to catch a rocket by landing, by landing it on thruster downwards, right? The business unlock is reusable rockets for low cost and low cycle time, so we can put a lot of stuff in low Earth orbit. Like that's what's allowed that SpaceX to be an incredibly powerful organization, and what's now inspired a bunch of other people to try to do sort of similar things, right? But what people get up in the morning are like, I want to make Star Trek. Like I want spacefaring humans. I want a colony on Mars. I want to repopulate the moon and live in the moon base, right? That's the big picture goal of like, we should get off of this planet and we should be the technological species that lives in the science fiction worlds that we've all been watching movies and reading books about for 100 years. That's the high level goal that SpaceX and Elon Musk, as the kind of founder CEO character, tapped into. And so the people that are working at SpaceX, most of them are people who are like, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. Is I want to build Star Trek. Right? Like
Yeah.
I want to build that future. And then as a way to that, the only way we get to that future is if the cost comes way down and the reusability, the cycle time goes way down. So the only way we get to that is if we can reuse rockets and if we can do all these other crazy technological challenges. Now I'm going to work incredibly hard on that. That's my ring of power that I'm building, is I'm going to do that thing, but not because that thing was what I am intrinsically motivated about. What I'm intrinsically motivated about is building this grand future that I'm now bought into. That unlocks incredible creativity. It unlocks incredible initiative. It unlocks incredible, willingness to work over and above the come in and put your clock and work for 8 hours a day situation. And if you can do that successfully, then yeah, you can unlock substantial changes in the world, right? Our ability to put things in near Earth orbit, our ability to iterate on spaceflight has moved faster in the last 15 years than in probably the 30 years before that.
Yep. I think that's a perfect example. This really did nail it. I like how you bring that back and talk about it in terms of rings of power. That is exactly right. So I think the challenge to each of us is to consider within our own businesses, what would that look like? What are the big levers? What is the metric that you're trying to go towards? But more than that, what is that value proposition that you can get people to rally behind? And of course,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about that, there's going to be a risk because we're not outright comparing Elon to Sauron, but also when we talked about the leadership superpowers that Sauron has, it was the most obvious comparison that we could make. So
there are people who make that comparison. Let's just say it out loud. WonderTour is not today saying Elon Musk is Sauron. However, he's clearly using some of the same techniques. So
exactly.
You can draw your own conclusions.